On March 28, 2025, a powerful 7.7 magnitude earthquake ripped through Southeast Asia, shaking the very foundations of the region, leaving behind a trail of devastation across Myanmar, Thailand and China. The sheer force of the quake was felt far and wide, causing buildings to collapse and infrastructure to crumble. The quake, centered in Myanmar's remote highlands, struck with terrifying force, shaking buildings, splitting roads, and triggering landslides across a vast area. The epicenter, located deep within the highlands, was a region already vulnerable to natural disasters. The tremors were felt hundreds of miles away, sending shockwaves of fear and uncertainty throughout the region. People far from the epicenter experienced the ground shaking beneath their feet, causing widespread panic and confusion. The earthquake struck at the heart of Myanmar, a nation grappling with political turmoil and economic hardship. The timing of the disaster could not have been worse, as the country was already struggling to cope with internal conflicts and economic challenges. The impact was immediate and catastrophic, with reports of widespread damage pouring in from across the country. Buildings lay in ruins, roads were impassable, and entire communities were left in disarray. The already strained infrastructure crumbled under the immense force of the quake, cutting off communication lines and hampering initial rescue efforts. Emergency responders faced significant challenges in reaching the affected areas, further complicating the relief efforts. As the dust settled, the true scale of the disaster began to emerge. The extent of the destruction was staggering, with entire neighborhoods reduced to rubble and countless lives disrupted. The international community watched in horror as images of collapsed buildings, shattered lives, and a desperate need for help emerged from the affected regions. Humanitarian aid organizations quickly mobilized to provide assistance, but the road to recovery would be long and arduous. The earthquake served as a stark reminder of the destructive power of nature and the shared vulnerability of humanity in the face of such events. It highlighted the need for better preparedness and stronger infrastructure to withstand future disasters, as well as the importance of global solidarity in times of crisis. Myanmar bore the brunt of the earthquake's fury, with entire villages flattened, leaving behind a landscape of devastation and despair. The once vibrant communities now lay in ruins, their homes reduced to mere fragments of what they once were. Cities too were not spared. Buildings that once stood tall and proud were reduced to rubble, their foundations shattered by the relentless force of nature. The urban areas, bustling with life, now resembled ghost towns. The epicenter, located in a remote mountainous region, amplified the damage as landslides cascaded down slopes, burying homes and cutting off access routes. The natural barriers created by the landslides made it nearly impossible for rescue teams to reach the affected areas quickly. The rugged terrain further complicated rescue efforts, making it challenging for aid to reach those trapped beneath the debris. Rescue workers, equipped with the bare minimum, had to navigate through treacherous conditions, often risking their own lives to save others. The ancient city of Bagan, a UNESCO World Heritage Site renowned for its thousands of Buddhist temples, suffered irreparable damage. These temples, which had stood the test of time for centuries, were no match for the earthquake's might. Many of these architectural marvels, some dating back centuries, crumbled under the earthquake's impact, transforming cultural treasures into piles of rubble. The loss of these structures is a poignant reminder of the fragility of our cultural heritage. The loss of these irreplaceable relics is a blow not only to Myanmar but also to the world's cultural heritage. Each fallen temple and damaged relic represents a piece of history that can never be replaced. Hospitals, already stretched thin due to ongoing challenges, were overwhelmed with casualties. Medical staff worked around the clock trying to provide care to the injured, despite the limited resources and the sheer number of patients. Stories of survivors being pulled from the wreckage, some with serious injuries, underscored the urgent need for medical assistance. Each rescue was a race against time, with every second counting in the fight to save lives. The earthquake exposed the fragility of life in Myanmar, where poverty and limited access to resources exacerbate the impact of such disasters. In these poverty-stricken areas, the struggle to rebuild and recover is even more daunting, as the community grapples with the loss of homes, livelihoods, and loved ones. While Myanmar faced the brunt of the earthquake's wrath, neighboring Thailand and China were not spared from its devastating reach. In Thailand, the northern provinces closest to the epicenter experienced significant shaking, resulting in structural damage to buildings and infrastructure. The popular tourist destination of Chiang Mai reported tremors that sent panicked residents and visitors fleeing into the streets. Though no casualties were reported in Thailand, the earthquake served as a stark reminder of the region's vulnerability to seismic activity. The event prompted authorities to reassess safety protocols and disaster preparedness measures, highlighting the importance of regional cooperation in mitigating the impact of future disasters. In China's Yunnan province bordering Myanmar, the earthquake triggered landslides and caused structural damage in several towns and villages. The region, known for its mountainous terrain and proximity to fault lines, is no stranger to seismic activity. However, the recent earthquake served as a stark reminder of the ever-present risk and the need for continued vigilance in earthquake preparedness and response. Section 4. A race against time rescue and relief efforts underway. In the immediate aftermath of the earthquake, a desperate race against time began to locate survivors trapped beneath the rubble and provide urgent medical assistance to the injured. The scene was chaotic, with rescue workers sifting through debris, listening intently for any signs of life. Every second counted and the urgency was palpable as teams worked around the clock. Rescue teams from Myanmar, joined by international organizations and neighboring countries, worked tirelessly amidst the devastation, their efforts hampered by aftershocks and the sheer scale of the destruction. The collaboration between local and international teams was crucial, as they brought in specialized equipment and expertise to tackle the most challenging rescue operations. The lack of electricity and communication lines in many areas complicated the rescue efforts, making it difficult to assess the full extent of the damage and coordinate aid distribution. Rescue workers had to rely on makeshift communication methods, often using hand signals and runners to relay messages. Nighttime operations were particularly challenging, with teams using flashlights and portable generators to illuminate their work areas. With each passing hour, the hope of finding survivors dwindled, but rescue workers pressed on, driven by the belief that every life saved offered a glimmer of hope amidst the tragedy. The emotional toll on the rescuers was immense, yet their determination never wavered. Brief moments of rest were taken, but the focus remained on the mission at hand. The international community responded swiftly to the disaster, with aid organizations like the Red Cross and Doctors Without Borders deploying medical teams, supplies, and essential relief items to the affected areas. These organizations set up medical tents and makeshift clinics to treat the injured, providing much-needed care and support to the survivors. However, the logistical challenges of reaching remote communities and navigating damaged infrastructure remained a significant hurdle in getting aid to those who needed it most. Damaged roads and bridges made it nearly impossible for ground vehicles to pass, forcing aid workers to use helicopters and other means to deliver supplies. The difficult terrain added to the complexity, but the resolve to reach every affected person was unwavering. Section 5. The world responds, international aid pours in. As the world witnessed the scale of the devastation in Myanmar, Thailand and China, a wave of compassion and support surged from all corners of the globe. Governments, international organizations and individuals rallied together, pledging financial aid, sending emergency supplies, and offering condolences to the victims and their families. The United States, the European Union, and countries across Asia pledged millions of dollars in aid, while organizations like the United Nations launched emergency appeals to provide life-saving assistance to those affected by the earthquake. Medical supplies, tents, blankets, and food were airlifted into the disaster zone, providing a lifeline to survivors struggling to cope with the aftermath. The outpouring of international support demonstrated the power of human solidarity in the face of tragedy. However, the long road to recovery requires sustained commitment from the global community to help rebuild shattered lives and communities.